Welcome back, listeners, to part two of our podcast with Mark Victor Hansen. If you've not heard part one, it's going to be eye-opening. Make sure your ears are in tune, your hearing aids are turned up, and be sure you listen to part one because it's going to put you in tune as we continue this dialogue and conversation. And it really ended with ask, ask, ask. So we're going to continue with asking. So, Jack, you can ask the next question.
Well, Mark, the president, and by the way, I want to say this. I am a Christian first, but I'm a conservative as well. So, being a conservative, that means I'm looking for people who are not on the left, but are on the right. So, when I hear things like that, and I hear our president, of whom I voted for twice and stand behind very staunchly, I hear him say that we're in a golden age. What do you think of that? And what would be, in your opinion, what would mark the entrance of the United States into a golden age?
God, if I paid you to ask the right question, that would be it. I got to go back to what Herb said. You got to be in alignment, and to be in alignment with God means that you're prayed up, and that means you got to pray when you wake up in the morning and bless your day or bless your day into the future. This is the day of the Lord. I shall rejoice and be glad in it. And do the same thing at night before you go to sleep with maybe the prayer of Jabez. Bless me, O Lord, a lot. Expand my territory and keep me from evil. Back to your question, is we are going into the golden age, and this is a golden age. The golden age was first named by Pericles back in Persia, right? Some of you read The Richest Man in Babylon, and some of you read The Greatest Salesman in the World by my friend Og Mandino, who used to live here in Arizona where I live, and I was close friends with him, and he endorsed my speeches and my books. The golden age we're going into is way beyond that. We've hit. Oh man, somehow I feel like I'm over answering your questions, but what Kathy Woods of ARK Investment says is, look, in 1900, you had four things hit at once. It was called a convergence. We had the telephone show up, thanks to Alexander Graham Bell. The automobile in 1906 shows up thanks to Henry Ford, and simultaneously in Germany with the Mercedes boys. You suddenly have roads being built, and then you have Rockefeller finding this little oil out in Titusville, and then they find it in Texas and all over. He and Flagler, and then they build Florida. So that was a convergence of three or four things. Right now, we've got a convergence of 10 things hitting at the same time. And I can go through all of them, but when Elon Musk was back at Stanford and only there for a few days, and said, wait a second, these are the five things I'm going to do. I'm going to make solar energy production and all that, and ends up coming out with Solar City. And then he puts it in Tesla, Tesla was really smarter than Edison back in 1900. Tesla really made all that stuff, but was besmirched because I can go through that. You can go watch it in The Men Who Made America Great. It's all on Netflix. I don't need to teach you that right now. I can, but that's not the most important thing. So then he says, I want to have Neuralink, which is how does the mind work? And I've got a brother-in-law that is a top podiatrist, foot doctor in the world, and he had a accident, and now they're able to put Neuralink, so he'll be ambulatory again. We're able to take blind people and make them sighted with Neuralink. We're able to take deaf people and people with hearing impairments like I've got, and I think Herb has, and make them hear again. We're in a very exciting time. Then you got AI, and then you got AGI. AI is artificial intelligence, which is if you take, does God know everything? Yeah, God's the AI of all AIs, as far as I'm concerned. I've never said that before, but that's it. And in India, when I studied contemporary theology there, it was called the Akashic records, where all is known and that will ever be known. But that's God, right? And Archangel Michael can be in all places, equally available at all times in all space. And you go, wow, whoa, man, that's cool. That's why I would never get in a car and drive without saying, Archangel Michael, guard this car and my driving and protect me. And missed out on a lot of accidents, and I'm very thankful for it. But I do that for my kids, grandkids, and my family and the ones I love. Anyhow, so you start to understand that we're having this convergence for the first time of a whole world that's available. And then you got 40,000 satellites that are opening up information. And obviously Ukraine, which is we now see is totally corrupt. They stole $100 billion from America. We see today that's all in print, that Zelensky never got it, and these guys shuffled it amongst themselves, because I'm on the same page that you are. And all those guys, as far as I'm concerned, punishment is the Lord, right? There's different levels of interpretation of that, but a lot of bad guys are going to go down fast, it seems to me. But it's all because we got convergence of companies like Palantir, which for the first time is going to fix up. We should not have had those 4 airline accidents in a week are not okay with me. I used to be on the board of the world's biggest airlines run by Greg Christian. All the UPS planes were ours. We painted them brown, wore brown, all that stuff, Del Smith's Airlines. None of this stuff should happen. In the old days, it wouldn't happen because we were a meritocracy-based group. We are going from bureaucratic back to meritocratic. Am I pronouncing it right? I know what I'm thinking is right. I just don't know if I'm stating it right. Was that right? Did you guys understand what I said?
Yes.
Meritocracy.
Yeah, meritocracy. Yep. And that's how I got here. My parents were not in the literature business. They didn't own a publishing company. I do own a fast-growing publishing company, which we do fiction, nonfiction, and write people's biographies for a lot of money, but and do a really good job, because the world needs more stories. That's what the Bible teaches. And a lot of if everyone would do a book that acknowledges the Bible, somebody will read their book and they'll go back to the Bible. That's the way this works. Most people don't understand. They got to have external validation. It seems to me, external validation. Most people don't go to the Bible first shot, just like what Herb said a few minutes ago, as I understood him. You never read it for yourself until what age, Herb?
Well, that's a good question. It was actually
75.
about 4 years ago.
Holy cow! Okay, I was joking when I said
No, after I read the book for the first time, when I finished each book of the Bible, I did a little history, a real world application, and I did a painting representing each book of the Bible.
Way cool. By the way, all the great painters, we're going to Italy again this summer. I go there just about except for dumb COVID, which was a piece of crap and corrupt. But Michelangelo did all the great stuff, and sculpting all of it, and I can do a story about each one of these things. But and Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci were competing full time, making each other greater on a full time basis. But that was all based on what the Pope was paying for, right?
Yeah. What do you think about the possibility of revival, first and foremost here in America, and then perhaps worldwide? But do you think we're heading toward revival?
That's what the golden age is really about. We're going from not spiritual back to spiritual, as far as I'm concerned. What my wife and I like to say is, you can tell the ungodly and the godly. And for some reason, our publishing house is doing books for the godly, and I am deeply thankful. I mean, there's levels I wake up and I go, thank you, God. The joke line is, of course, from Mother Teresa, who I think the world of, and I got one of our authors to Mother Teresa while she was alive. I'll tell that story if you want. But Mother Teresa says, God, I know you never give me more than you can trust me with, but why do you trust me so much? I hope that was cute.
There was.
So Lou Tartaglia, who's head of sleep at Cleveland Clinic, and I've been friends for over 50 years, go to church together. Great. He got me one of my 10 honorary doctorates. I mean, we're best buds. And we did 2 books by him. One is on the Shroud of Turin. And you all know the Shroud of Turin. I got to really see it with Mary Kay of America Cosmetics. Now, everybody thinks that Jesus was wrapped like an Arab, like this. That's not the way Jews wrap. Jews wrap from the bottom of the heel up over the top of the head and down back over the toes. And when you see the Shroud of Turin, 28 guys went to Turin, Italy, and they saw the shroud, and the shroud was 3 things I'm going to say that don't seem believable, but you can read Dr. Lou's book. Anyhow, they wouldn't put the nail through here because it'll go like that. There's nothing to stop it. They put the nail through here because then it can't go through the wrist. When the ankles were down, they had to put it through the leg. What we've just been able to do is, when they did the DNA testing, they said, well, look, this is exactly the right place. The guy weighed 170 pounds. He was my height, 6'4". I weigh a lot more than 170 pounds, I promise. But the other thing they did is that they took the shroud now, just because of genomics, which is one of those 10 things I was talking about. And the cells in that shroud are still alive. This is why I said you guys aren't going to believe. But wait a second. No cell in my body is going to be alive, I don't think, 2,000 years. Now, yes, I got eternal life. That's been the big promise, the big, award. But I'm going to be alive in spirit, I think. I don't think I'm going to be alive in physiognomy.
Terms, yeah.
I've never said that before, but I think it's accurate.
Well, you'll have a body in heaven.
Say again?
You will have a body in heaven.
Yeah, but the body is going to be translucent and that. It's not going to be a physical body like this body.
I think it'll be physical.
Okay, here's the question. We don't know what we don't know.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, but let's talk about it. We're doing some of the books on the people who have died, went to the other side, and come back. By the way, there are now 20,000 of them, and most of them have got videos on YouTube, and they're mind blowing. But consistently, two things happen. One is they go to the other side and they see, if you're in the Christian model, you see Christ, and 100% of them, Christ said, "Look," and it's more beautiful. The sounds are better. The colors are brighter. Everything is more extraordinary. And they don't want to come back because they feel pure love, every one of them. And now he said, no, you made a promise. If you read Revelations, there's a book of life. And before you and I got here, right before you were in your mother's womb, it says in Isaiah, I knew you. Is it you made a promise to do X, whatever X is, right? I think X for me was speaking, writing, publishing, and helping businesses be great so they could tithe more. Because if I'm working with a business, I say, you're either going to tithe or you're not. And if you're not, then you don't want to hire me. I'm the wrong guy because I'm going to tell you and all your people you got to tithe. I don't care where you tithe, as long as it's not an ethical, moral church or,
What's it?
Now you're lucky.
I was going to say, it's interesting how this conversation is going because last night we have a group that gets together. For 3 years, we've been praying for Ukraine. Before we started praying, one of the members shared a story of a young child that fell into a swimming pool. He drowned and he was dead. They pulled the kid out. Miraculously, they brought the kid back to life. And first thing the kid said, I want to go back to where I was. So he had been,
it gives me
taken
goosebumps.
somewhere. Huh?
That gives me goosebumps, God bumps, chili bumps, whatever you guys call them. There are 7 words for it. But the point is, that's where Jack and I started our stories. Because I said, look, Jack, if a story doesn't give us goosebumps, God bumps, chili bumps, we ain't putting it in. If it doesn't cause instantaneous behavior change, that story, and why that story works is because it's true. Why this book rocks is the first story in here. All my wife's prophetic visions in the Fable of Michaela, making a movie. We just got $8 million to make a movie. Everyone reads it and they go, like Ed Milet said, I want to have you on the show, Mark. You and I are buddies. And then I said, you sent me the book and I couldn't find it. I asked my daughter and she said, Dad, I read every page. I outlined it. I highlighted it so you could do this easy. You didn't have to read it. Yeah. And stayed up all night reading it because it's truth. When you're dealing with truth with a capital T, it is irresistible.
Now, Mark, when Jesus was resurrected from the dead, he went up to heaven. And when he came back, and when we saw him, or when the disciples saw him, he had a body. Now, it was a glorified body, but he had a body.
Yeah, but and he caused substance to be there when Thomas put his fingers through. I buy all that, but he also, his body wasn't like yours and mine because he went through the wall. He didn't open the door. It said he went through the wall. Yeah. And when they came to crush him a second time, it said he disappeared and showed up 20 feet later.
Yeah.
I look, there's 7 things when you're writing movies you got to do, according to Joseph Campbell, who said a myth is something that never was and always is. But Joseph Campbell said you got to have shape shifting. Well, obviously the Bible's full of shape shifting, transfiguration, all kinds of stuff. But Jesus did that. I in my physical form cannot yet walk through this wall. Oops, I don't want to hit my wall. My wife will flip out if I break this wall. And rightfully so. I'm pretty strong. So I exercise every day. So I can't do that. So his form, he gelled it when he needed to gel it. And he also, I'm part of this company, which I encourage all of you guys to look at. Remember, I got a vested interest in this. I'm an owner. So, you guys got to put up resistance. But the Nucalm, NUCALM.com, where there's only 4 vibrations in the mind. And if you want to sleep, you listen to it and go to sleep. If you got anxiety, get rid of it. If you want to be productive, you got Tony Robbins and I are part of it. Anyhow, so we got a brand new product coming out in April that 20 minutes you'll talk into your cell phone and we'll tell you 429 accurate things about your body, your blood, your heart, everything. That's never been done before. I'm saying that Jesus knew how to do that when he healed all those people, because it says in the last line of chapter on the Gospel of John, if you knew all the miracles, I'm going to paraphrase this, so if I blow it too bad, correct it, or I can go look it up. But if you knew all the miracles he did, it'd fill endless books, because he could see what he needed to see and heal leprosy on the spot and all that. And that's why I love the movie The Chosen, because for most people, they got to see it to believe it. And God says the opposite. Faith, actually, is Apostle Paul, but faith is substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen.
I'm glad he had something to eat when he was there with the disciples. So I love eating.
Me too.
I'm going to ask you something that's just a little out of the range. I want to know if you still have a guitar. Do you still have a guitar?
I was a bass player, but the truth is I started this band called The Messengers when I saw the Beatles, and I was so wowed. I called my best little buddy since 4 years old, Gary Youngberg, and we started the group. We got the top guitarist ever. This guy had a photographic music memory. He could listen to something once and play it, and also teach me how to play anything. So the answer to I have a guitar, no. The answer to The Messengers, my wife said it's prophetic my whole life.
Okay. Well, we've got just a few minutes left, so maybe some last thoughts for our listeners. What would you like to leave them with?
Well, first of all, I want more for them than they want for themselves. So I'm going to say that you got to take family time in every house. Shut off the TV, shut off the blue screen on your cell phone, whatever brand it is, and read 10 pages and then talk about them each and every day as a family. And I'll just take one of the guys we're writing a book with, the biggest bankruptcy attorney in the world, who I love a lot, Bill. I've never needed him, thank God. But like when COVID hit, he took Avis and Hertz bankrupt because there were 8,000 cars nobody was renting and stuff like that. So, but Bill LaBelle, we've done 2 books with Bill, and Bill has got adults in his family. He's our age, Herb, and they go to a different church service of a major church person every week, and then they talk about it all afternoon on Sundays. I thought, wow, that's as good as my saying read 10 pages and talk about it. But I'd ask everyone to read the Bible, and I don't care if you read Chicken Soup for the Soul Bible, get one that is in, there's lots of 500 different kinds of American Bibles. So, Revised Standard, all that. Get the one that feels right to you. Just go to Barnes and Noble, which I still love, and ask them for the Bible section. You're going to go see 500 Bibles, and you're going to go, holy schmoly, I only know the Bible my little church back in Bug Tussle, Texas gave me, or whatever. Right. And so I would ask you to read 10 pages of book, preferentially one of mine to start with. And I'll introduce you to a lot of other superstars, because I quote everybody. I give attribution, one of the big words you used early in this, to everybody that I've learned from, that I remembered to give. If I missed anyone, I apologize.
What's your next book coming out?
We got a couple that we're writing on simultaneously, but my own personal book is Crystal's doing the movie. It's going to be a trilogy that Hollywood says clean Hollywood, which is the rare part, is they say it's going to be bigger than Harry Potter, and it's going to be the Fable of Michaela series, which is extraordinary, because I told her originally, I'm of Danish descent, and Hans Christian Andersen wrote 147 fables that Walt Disney bought, and every one of them: Ugly Duckling, King Has No Clothes. There's not one I can name that you guys don't know.
Well, maybe you can give me a little image or something we can share on the video to tease our listeners about what's coming up.
Okay, good. We'll do that. I'll do that. So for me personally, I got 3 books going. One of which is the one that would fit this show the best, is God Wants You to Be Rich. Because there's nowhere in the Bible that said, go thou and be poor. What Jesus said is, the poor you'll always have with you. Now you have them poor with you because they have a poor mindset. There's no shortage in universe. And if you're made with God's stuff, which is infinite stuff, and you're made in the image and likeness, it seems to me then you're supposed to create abundance. And it hurts my heart when, like, we'll be down in Mexico in a couple of days working again. And it hurts my heart when you see people starving to death. And and when I go to India and everyone's got their hand out because they don't know how to create. Everyone is born to create, contribute profitably by making themselves valuable. And that's why you got to have good self-esteem inside so you can show it outside. That's why it's love your neighbor as yourself. You got to love you before you can love your neighbor. If you don't love you, I can promise you, George Soros, who said on 60 Minutes, I don't believe there's a God, I hate God. And you can see his outpicturing is that he kills people and does stupid stuff. And I find him despicable as a human being. Now, I don't know exactly. I know I'm supposed to forgive him, and I do, but it's hard for me to do that. I think I overdosed on that one.
Oh, that's good. Well, Mark, we just want to thank you so much for taking your time from an unbelievably busy schedule that you have to share with these three men today. The conversation's just been amazing, and we hope our listeners will be blessed. We have a listening audience in over 25 countries around the world, so some people will see this message all over the place. Thank you,
Good.
sir.
Thank you. Send me a link so I can share it on mine
Oh,
too.
absolutely.